Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about a recent controversy that has engulfed Zohran Mamdani, candidate of American mayoral elections, who has won primary by defeating Andrew Cuomo, another Democratic nominee as such. Now, this time controversy has erupted because of one of his video that began to be circulated on social media, where he seems to be eating food using his own hand. Now, this seems very normal if you look at it in the Indian context, but in the countries such as Western countries like US, UK, many times eating of certain foods such as soup or talk about rice, mashed potatoes are considered as not par with etiquette, are considered as something that is disgusting in nature. So this is what the controversy is all about, and obviously politicians also try to score brownie point for their parties whenever they come across such news, so that they can show that this candidate is not good for the people to represent the people of the United States of America. And this is what has been done largely by a congressman coming from Republican Party called as Brandon Gill. Brandon Gill has equated this behavior of eating food using own hands by Mamdani as nothing but uncivilized nature. He has posted civilized people in America do not eat like this, and not only that, he has went on and said that if you refuse to adopt Western culture, again Western custom here is referring to using knife, spoon, fork, basically cutlery, we can say, go back to third world. So that is how we can understand the kind of racist behavior, kind of racist remark made by American politicians, where eating by own hand is equated with a practice prevailing in the third world or something not what you can consider as civilized in nature as such. Again, another major we can say post that has gained a lot of traction came from Danielle D'Souza Gill, who is an American of Indian descent. Her father, Daniel, this D'Souza we talk about, he is of Indian origin as such, and he's also a conservative commentator. Now, she has stated that I did not grow up eating rice with my hands and have always used a fork. I was born in America. I am a Christian MAGA patriot. MAGA, as you know, is a term largely used to represent those people who support Donald Trump and his large policy of make America great again. Not only that, she even went and said that my father's extended family lives in India and they're also Christian and they use Fox too. Thank you for your attention. So basically here again, the question comes that if someone has adopted different cultural practices, that does that mean that the cultural practices prevailing in one's home country or prevailing in large part of the world becomes uncivilized nature? The answer is obviously no. Basically, critics have posted pictures of the senior D'Souza, also the father of Daniel D'Souza himself, eating by using his own hand, and of the congressman himself. We talk about the congressman Brandon Gill, who has made a remark about Mamdani's act, enjoying pizza using his own hand as such. Now let us try to understand this in more detail, but first of all I would want to bring your attention to the fact that in Legacy IAS Academy we are going to soon launch new batches for UPSC aspirant. Batch will commence on 7th July and then further on 9th and 11th August. Now at Legacy IAS Academy we believe that UPSC preparation requires a comprehensive approach, and that is why we focus on comprehensive coverage of the entire syllabus, right from the essay paper to general studies 1, 2, 3, 4, and even we provide guidance to aspirants on several optionals. Now, also we believe that many times students, especially those who are attempting this examination, who are studying for this examination for the first time, they do not have good idea about the syllabus, they do not have good idea about the content, and many times it is difficult for them to get all doubts cleared in the classroom itself. And that is why we ensure that we have one-to-one mentorship, so that not only student and doubt solving sessions, so that not only students are able to solve the doubt, but also are able to understand that whether they are following the right path to increase their chances of succeeding in examination or not. Also, we ensure that we have maximum 40 students per batch, so that the interaction between the faculty, the educators and students can be ensured to a maximum extent as such. And also we believe that the preparation for the civil services examination cannot be carried out in the silo-based approach, where you prepare for prelims, then mains, interview. It should be done right from the start in a well-integrated manner, and that is why we have daily mains answer writing practice session, so that a student after completing a part of syllabus can start writing answer, can start improvising, and by the time mains arise, means the students are well what you can call as rehearsed and are confident enough to tackle the and write answers in main examination. We also have regular test series for both prelims and mains, so the students can understand where do they where do they stand as far as examination and the preparation is concerned. They can make necessary changes based on the valuable feedback. And also obviously we cover 360-degree current affairs, we can say relevant for UPSC as well. Now, if you want to know more detail about these courses, their structures and everything, you can find the link in the description box. You can click on the links and then get all your doubts cleared about the course. Now, coming back to the topic, it is not only that the South Asian communities from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and all, the member of these communities eat by hand. There are several communities and culture across the world. For example, in the entire Middle East, eating by hand is something that has been a norm for many centuries. Similarly, large part of Africa, large part of South America, people have been using their hands. So people using the hands to eat food make up not only a small or minority of the population, but they make a large chunk of global population. Even in the Western countries, several foods are eaten using hand. For example, tacos, burgers, pizza, sandwiches, and hot dogs. So basically, question boils down to the fact that it's not about using your hand to eat food, rather it is what you should eat using hand and what you should not eat using hand. And now this is also not something that there is a general practice such. It varies from culture to culture, it varies from local custom to local custom, and also it varies from the kind of food countries largely consume. Now, as far as India is concerned, what is the rationale given behind using your hand to eat or consume food? So first of all, from the health perspective, if you want to understand, many experts and scholars argue that eating food by using your own hand, obviously ensuring that you have followed the fundamental principle of hygiene. For example, you have washed your hands properly before eating food, is leading to increase in the immunity of your health system, immunity of your body system against many vector-borne diseases or parasitic diseases or viral and bacterial diseases as well. Apart from that, it is believed by the yoga scholars that eating by hand actually promotes mindful eating practices, not in that it is beneficial for the environment as well. We can also take a look at the view of Sri Ravi Shankar, who is the head of Art of Living community, Art of Living, we can say, organization, which is spearheading today yoga revolution as well as the what you can call as revolution in the sphere of spiritualism. They also have stated that eating with one's own hand has a clear connection with the Ayurvedic principles. One of the Veda that we have out of the 4 Veda is Ayurveda, largely deals with the health aspect. So that is also we have to take into consideration. Now, if you look at Devdutt Patnaik, who is a well-known voice in the cultural and spiritual dimension, who also has published a lot of books, he has stated that as far as the Vedic literatures are concerned, their food is considered and equated with a goddess. For example, a term that we use generally for food is something that is equated with the goddess as well. And the fingers are nothing but the midget sages known as Valakilyas. Food, for example, is considered as goddess Annapurna. And the Valakilyas, that are your 4 fingers, they are actually helping you in making sure that a goddess reaches our mouth so that we are able to sustain ourselves, we are able to live and survive on this planet. Not only that, if you look at it from the perspective of Ayurveda, basically each finger of the palm or hand is equated with one of the elements from which it is believed that our body and our entire earth, entire atmosphere is made up of. So little finger here represents water element. You have the ring finger that represents earth element. Middle finger represents space, akas or vyom element. Index finger represents vayu or air, and the thumb represents Agni or fire. So when you are using your hands and fingers to eat food, it also is helping you to integrate with all the 5 elements that your body is made up of and your surrounding is made up of. Now here, when we talk about eating food by our own hand, issue largely also comes from the what you can call as encountering of an unfamiliar cultural practices. For example, in Western world, we talk about countries that are part of West like US, UK, Canada and all. Obviously, they are using your own hand to eat food, especially like soup, mashed potato and other such food that people generally eat using forks, knives and other type of cutlery. Then they judge it as being gross if someone uses their own hand to do so. An example of this we can see from the fact that recently a controversy erupted when a well-known media personality from United States of America, Oprah Winfrey, and one of her show has asked the question that do still Indians eat using their own hand, or have they become more civilized in nature? That is what she was intended to say. Apart from that, also when Shilpa Shetty, a well-known Bollywood personality, was participating in a reality television show in United Kingdom called as Big Brother, she also had to face a lot of criticism. She also had to fight basically with a lot of participants. For example, Jane Goody, when she used her hands to eat food as such. And again, very recently, in one of the incidences captured in the London Tube is basically London Metro, where one woman of Indian origin was seen to consuming food, seemed to have consuming food by using her own hands. So all this basically comes to the fact that why there is so much furor, why there is so much labaloo about using hand to eat the food. The question comes because of the racist view of the world. That is what many scholars argue, that is essentially intolerant and inward looking. What it basically means that any practices that does not conform to the Western practices are considered as uncivilized, and people who are practicing it are equated with a third world country, uncivilized or a barbaric country as such. So it is not mainly about the etiquette, but it is about the racist view of the world, or more refined way, we can say it is ethnocentric view of the world. Ethnocentric view of the world, we can say, is largely referring to the fact that a person is judging someone else's culture or cultural attribute without looking into the context of the culture which he is judging. For example, any cultural practices that is followed in India cannot and should not be judged from the lens of Western culture. It should be judged only within the context of Indian culture, by looking at how this culture has come into existence, what is the relevance of this culture for the people of India, and how the practices have evolved and have also fulfilled certain of its roles and duties as such. So basically, if you talk about the use of cutlery, it is related to the ages where imperialism was very much practiced, especially by many European powers, including United Kingdom. You have the era of American colonization and African slavery. And if you talk about the culture of eating food by own hand, it largely is attributed to the non-Western traditional practices, and that is equated with the practices that is followed by uncivilized people as such, while there is no real truth to it. Now also, this can be understood as an example of imposition of cultural hierarchy. Now, what does cultural hierarchy here means? That many times Western people from Western countries, they think that the cultural practices which they follow ranks at a higher pedestal in the civilizational ladder, we can say, and any culture that is being followed by people which is not similar to Western culture is ranking lower, and that is why these people need to change their culture. These people need to transform their culture to suit the Western culture or become similar to that. So that is the issue of cultural hierarchy. Not only that, interestingly, if you look at the topic that we're talking about, the issue of eating food by own hand, it's not that Western countries or the people, white people, if largely if talk about from the racist perspective, it's not something that did not do it. For example, many food items are there, such as we had discussed, pizza, tacos, nachos, hot dogs, all are consumed by using hand. But the problem is that when white people do it, it is not considered as barbaric, gross or uncivilized. Only these terms are used and remarks are made when some other people from other countries, non-white basically can say, are involved there. And here again, if you talk about Dinesh D'Souza, he has also given his 2 points about this entire issue, and he has given his cultural lesson for Mamdani, basically because both of them have one commonality, that is both of them have some connection with the India itself. For example, what he has said, that eating with your own hand is acceptable when it's bread, naan or pizza, but when it's soup, meatloaf or mashed potatoes, eating it by hand is unacceptable. It is considered as gross in America. That is the view. That is view of Dinesh D'Souza as such. And last, what we can conclude, that again, by looking at this entire discussion, which has erupted every now and then, in the end, the objection that people basically commit to against eating of food by hand is not about etiquette, rather it is about power, prejudice and the lingering shadow of colonialism that still seems to be prevalent in many Western countries. That is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more such content. Thank you very much.